Narcissists a lot of times tend to target people that are empathetic, compassionate, and have a strong desire to help and to fix other people. And if you're a fixer, if you're like, I help people, I help them fix them, narcissist is like, perfect. That means I'm going to be in the relationship, I'm going to show up as a victim, I'm going to have there be issues with me, and you're going to keep trying to fix me over and over and over again. And all it does is it helps to boost the self-esteem that you want me, that I'm a great person, that you think so much about me, that you're obsessed with me. Does it feel like you're always with a narcissist? Like you've gone from relationship to relationship, from toxic person to toxic person, and you feel like you're repeatedly involved with narcissistic individuals? Like maybe you're wondering, like, why are you attracting a narcissist into your life? Like, why does it seem to be repetitive? Maybe you're at the place where you're like, okay, I have to stop this. I'm in a cycle. I've been doing this over and over, and like something's either wrong with them, with me, like something's happening that I need to change, and you want to break free. Like you want to actually move out of these patterns that you've been going through. Well, narcissistic relationships oftentimes are very toxic and detrimental, but oftentimes we see it cyclical in nature, where you start to get with the same person or the same type of person over and over and over again. If you're in the place where you're finding yourself stuck with a toxic person over and over again, it's important to explore the reasons why. Why is this actually happening? So we're going to dive into a couple of them. We're going to talk through 3 different reasons today of like why you keep breaking, like why you keep going into the cycle of being with a narcissist. At the very end, I'll share one of the things that's the main thing I think that helps you understand why you're still stuck in that cycle over and over. If you guys are new here, my name is Ben Taylor. I'm a self-aware narcissist on this channel to provide awareness about narcissistic abuse. I do so by telling my story, by telling like part of what I see, of how I interpret the world. And oftentimes it's by developing and diving into these videos to help you understand the nuances that's happening in the crazy making of the relationship that you're currently in. You might be at the place where you keep seeing this happen over and over again. You're like, I don't know how to actually break the cycle. We're going to talk through some of the pieces of it here, but if you're at the place where you're like, I need to break the cycle, please reach out for help. Go to rawmotivations.com, click on the one-on-ones. We'd love to talk to you and work with you and help you in your healing process. We have a lot of people that are inside our Thriver community that have broken free of the cycle, that have broken out of the trauma bond, that have eradicated the triggers, that have gotten out of the rumination and are able to actually stand as a beacon of hope and power to other people, to their kids, to their families, to their coworkers, and continue to move forward in your growth. So, what is actually going on of attracting a narcissist? Like, how are you pulling them in? Like, what like, is it a magnet? Like, what is actually happening? One of the things I want to talk to you about is this aspect of unresolved emotional wounds and low self-esteem. Okay, both of these connected a lot of times will draw narcissists in because they're looking for people that are already vulnerable in this aspect. They're looking for people that already have gaps that they can fill. It doesn't mean gaps that they're going to fill and heal, but gaps that they can walk into and let that actually hold control over you, hold power over you. Think of this. Narcissists a lot of times tend to target people that are empathetic, compassionate, and have a strong desire to help and to fix other people. And if you're a fixer, if you're like, I help people, I help them fix them, narcissist is like, perfect. That means I'm going to be in the relationship, I'm going to show up as a victim, I'm going to have there be issues with me, and you're going to keep trying to fix me over and over and over again. And all it does is it helps to boost the self-esteem that you want me, that I'm a great person, that you think so much about me, that you're obsessed with me. And it makes me feel better about myself. It goes back and forth like this. This combination of empathetic, compassionate, strong desire to help and fix others like ends up being an ideal environment for the narcissist to exploit you, for the narcissist to use you, for the narcissist to continue to manipulate you over and over and over. Sometimes they'll connect with a vulnerability piece that you're not even aware is going on. I want you to consider this. Maybe you're vulnerable about a certain aspect because you've got an unresolved emotional wound. You've got trauma. You've got different things that have happened. Don't be surprised if that person has the same exact thing happen to them, magically. The same exact experience, the same exact thought process. It might not even be remotely close to being true. Sometimes narcissists will grab onto your story and modify their own. Sometimes they'll take a friend's story and pretend that it's their own. Sometimes they'll do anything to have this connection piece when it's actually just putting out there of like, oh yeah, I have wounds too. And you're like, oh, because it's the same wound that I have, I know what I want, so let me give that to them and see if that actually helps. Majority of the time, it's just a manipulation. Think about it being like if you experience past traumas. like deep-seated insecurities, like struggles, like these different things, like you may unknowingly start to seek validation from another person. And then if they're narcissistic, like it's a whole nother manipulation piece. Because then the narcissist is going to be working through mirroring you, love bombing you, may like initially provide validation and the attention that you're looking for, but later show that it's just manipulation. It's just getting you to the place of doing what they want you to do. Okay? Second point that I want to be able to bring up is this aspect of codependent patterns and enabling behavior. When you think of this, codependent individuals like prioritize other people's needs above their own. They're also prone to attracting narcissistic partners. Because what would be better than being with someone that is always going to feed the narcissist? Like that's the thought process of like, oh, I can be with someone that they need their validation, they need their attention from me, and they prioritize me above everything else. Like a narcissist already thinks they're the center of the universe. They already think they're number one. So as a result, a codependent or enabling behavior ends up just feeding it even more. Like you have a codependent whose like tendency ends up being to sacrifice their own well-being, to make it look or feel a certain way, and enables the narcissist behavior. Like it provides this vampire feeding that's going on. Of like, oh, like you want to bite me? Here, go ahead, take my arm. Okay, like it's going back and forth of just being like, I'm doing everything for you, and the narcissist is like, perfect, because that's who you should be serving. It should be me. Okay, like a lot of times people like this will enable the narcissist behavior, and it will just feed that dynamic relationship over and over and over again. Like, let's say, okay, maybe you're listening today and you're a codependent person. You're like, okay, but, and you start to realize you're making excuses for how you're being treated. Like you'll make excuses over and over and over again. But he says he loves me. But he shows up for the kids every other week. And you start to realize if you really take a close look at what you're saying and what's actually happening, there's a disconnect. And it allows you to give permission to yourself for the cycle of abuse to keep going on. Like to keep going over and over and over again. Sometimes it's this piece of like the fear of abandonment. If you're like, but if I say the truth to myself, I'll have to admit it, I'll have to leave, something will have to change. If nothing changes, nothing changes. If you're content with the life that you're currently living with that person, then don't change anything. Because that is what is going to happen. They're not going to automatically change, whether you're with them or whether you're not. Only thing you can change is you. A lot of times the narcissist will play off of your fear of abandonment. Try to make sure that they have control over you. This leads you down the path of tolerating like their harmful behaviors, tolerating the stuff that's actually get thrown at you. All right, so point number 3, and then we'll touch on like the last and the biggest thing that's an issue for you attracting narcissists. One of the last things is a lack of boundaries and assertiveness. Not actually setting up boundaries of saying, hey, this is what I'm willing to be able to accept. This is what's actually going on. And like, this is how it is. Like being assertive with it versus like, let me just let you run over me. A lot of times we'll talk about boundaries without consequences. Boundaries without follow through is just like a speed bump. Don't be surprised if the narcissist keeps running over you over and over and over again. This is why a lot of times boundaries in a toxic relationship don't seem to work. 1, because people don't have boundaries. 2, because people don't follow through with boundaries. 3, because narcissists don't care about boundaries, which is why it typically ramps up to you leaving the relationship because you realize that this person actually doesn't care about you because of their actions, because of how they're demonstrating the fact that they're not going to change, to modify, to do anything to help it be better for you, to help you through whatever it might be. Okay? So you need to work on setting healthy boundaries and asserting that their needs like being assertive in this aspect helps you actually keep these boundaries and make sure that they can't get through. Okay, because the narcissist is going to thrive off of power and control. Of like, I need power over you. I need to control you. Like, I need to test and push your boundaries. And if you're at the place to like where you struggle to actually like assert yourself and be like, no, I'm not going to do this. Like, no, we're not going to move at this speed. No, this is not how you're going to treat me. Like, if you want to treat a person like this, you can do it to someone else, but it's not going to be me. Like, this makes you an easy target a lot of times for manipulation because of like, this person isn't going to stand up for themselves. Now, does that mean they only go after people that don't stand up for themselves? No, because a lot of times they like the challenge of going after someone and breaking them down. You might find yourself right now in the relationship compromising your values, neglecting your own needs, and being unable to establish boundaries. Like, I don't even know how to even put a boundary together. Like, I don't even know where to start with that. Because every time I've tried to set a boundary, it's never worked. And a lot of times you're going to throw it out the window being like, I guess I can't do boundaries. With a narcissist, it doesn't work. The narcissist is going to disregard your boundaries over and over, invade your personal space, manipulate you into accommodating their demands. Now, I mentioned I had a fourth and final thing that was like, hey, this is like one of the biggest things that we see that attracts narcissists. Super simple. Sometimes people get offended by it, but it's super simple. Narcissists is attracted to someone who does not know who they are. When you don't know who you are, you don't set boundaries. When you don't know who you are, you're not actually progressing towards the version of reality you want for you. So as a result, it's easy for narcissists to come alongside and to pull you off the path that you actually want to go down. We see so many people that have lost their hopes, their dreams, their goals because narcissists came into life and sideswiped them, took them out of the picture, and was like, nope, we're going to do this instead. You need to understand, if you don't know who you are, and this is a big question, it's hard for people to work through. This is why we talk to people to help them actually break free from this. This is one of the concepts that we deal with going inside the Clarity Challenge at claritychallenge.net of like understanding like who you are. If you don't know who you are, you're not going to know even what to start off with setting up healthy boundaries because you don't know. You're like, well, I want to be this way, but if I don't actually acknowledge who I am or what I want, nothing's going to change. If you don't know who you are, a lot of times you've already attracted a narcissist. If you're ready to break free and start to move forward in your healing of finding out who you are, getting clarity about the situation, go to claritychallenge.net. It's a systematic process. It's a 45-day challenge. Like when you get it, you invest in 45 days of you, of us pouring into you with emails, of us pouring into you with videos, of us pouring into you with accountability, with being inside of a community saying like, hey, this is what's happening. Like this is what's going to help you the most is continuing moving forward in this regard. If you want to talk to me more in an accelerated process, you can go to rawmotivations.com, click on the one-on-ones. Would love to help you in your healing. Would love to help you moving forward in your development of who you are called to be.